Let's explore the legend that is the Cirklon sequencer through the international language of house music. We're going to make this track, and it's going to be something we can live jam with. It's got a main section, a middle eight, and parts we can mute with probability and fills, and using its more exotic functions like the accumulator and OGS events just to go that little bit deeper. I've got the TR-909 hooked up to MIDI output 1, the Dreadbox Nymphes and Nymphes to 2 and 3, with the OTO BIM delay taking MIDI clock from MIDI output 4. And I'm using a Keystep to input notes, and it's using the Cirklon as the USB host. So whatever you've got, this can control it. It does have a CV in and out board as well, but I'm not using it in this demo. Let's start by creating a new song, then Shift and Song, create new song. Okay. Now we're going to create our first track. So track 1 we'll put on a kick. So we'll scroll down to here, to the bottom right, instruments, hit that, and here's all the instruments I've set up for this demo. When you first get this, you set all the instruments up on the specific MIDI outputs and the MIDI channels. So if we go into the kick, for example, and press Shift and hit Enter, we can see it's on MIDI port 1, channel 10, and it's on default note C3. So when I create a pattern, it will always play on default note C3. Let's create another track. 2, go to the snare. So add the snare, and this is on D3, I think, but go to the pattern, throw it in. Let's add a clap, track, clap, instrument, clap, import the pattern, and we're up and running, aren't we? So let's do open hat next. We'll go to the track. I'll put this on 6 just because that's what I'm used to putting it on. So 6, instrument, open hat. That. Now, what didn't I do there? I didn't press pattern. So this is turning the tracks on and off while we're in track mode. So pattern, open hat. Simple as. Go back to track. Let's create a closed hat pattern. We'll do something more complex here. So closed hat, quick pattern, and maybe let's do quite nice. But let's make this, as I say, a little bit more complex. So now if we come into the pattern itself, we can see where we're playing. We can see what note we're playing. The G flat 3. Different notes, got the velocities, got lengths of the notes, we've got the delay on the notes, so we could slightly offset them, for example. Let's pre-offset them. Let's keep them nice and tight for now, shall we? And then we've got these auxiliaries, A, B, C, and D, and therefore like parameter locking. I'll go through some of those in a minute. But let's knock the velocity down on the sort of the ones that aren't on the beat. So if we hold gang, which is effectively shift, and we'll have this one, which one, and that one. And now when we twist one of these, we'll be twisting them all. So, and we'll hold this one as well. Now, a little bit more complex. Let's go to those parameter locks. So we'll go to press row again, and we get into what the parameter locks are. These auxiliary A, B, C, and D channels. We'll come down to aux A. Hit it and twist. So you can have any CC number you like, hit it and twist again. Then we get to this, the parameter locks. There's 118 different settings you can set in here. There's an awful lot you can do, but let's go down to randomize. And we're going to randomize a mask gate. So that'll randomize how it masks the notes or mutes the notes. So we'll hit that, and we'll, on these notes here, so on this one, we'll have a 32% chance of it playing. On this one, we'll have a 50% chance of it playing. If we push the knob down and then twist it, we can go through the numbers quicker. On this one, we'll have a 90% chance of playing. On this one, we'll play 75%. So if we go into the rows again, we can see the percentage chances of these playing. And if I shuffle for a second, you'll hear it's not playing that on every. And if we turn these off, It's not playing the same thing every bar. Haven't put anything on 4 yet. Let's stick a rim shot on that. So track 4. I'll show what that screen was in a second as well. So let's put the rim shot. Pattern. Don't know. Cool. Two more things I want to add. One I had a crash and one I had a low tom. So we stick the low tom on 7. Then let's go to track number 7. Instrument. Low tom. Play. And then put the crash on track 8. So instrument, press cymbal, and we'll put that on the first beat. Now we don't want that to happen on the start of every bar, so we could make this 8 bars long. So if we go into the pattern again, length, so we go to the last, 8 bars long. So now it's only going to play, if we go into the pattern itself, we can see we're on bar 1, plays at the start, and it's not playing on the other bars. So that'll play once every 8 bars. There's lots of different ways of doing things like this. So on the snare, we'll do something a little bit more fun, a little bit more intelligent maybe, and show you more about how these parameter locks or these auxiliary events work. So we come to the pattern on the snare, we come to the row, we can see where we're playing. But I want to do something, you know, like, was it like Madonna in Vogue, that style sort of snare roll? Yeah. But I don't want that to play every time. I don't want this note, and these to play every time. So I could do what I did with the crash and extend it to 8 bars and copy this across and just put those at the end on the 8th bar, or we can use the accumulator to do it a bit more intelligently. So we come to the menu, I want this accumulator to count. So we'll come to the accumulator settings, and use this aux-D, this is basically just a counter, and we'll turn that down to 7. Press shift and turn that. So we go 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So it counts up to 8 bars, then resets to 0, RTZ. Back into the pattern, and then we'll go into the rows, and we'll tell auxiliary A that we're going to use an accumulator, and we're going to use this offset aux-D relative, and we're going to count that +1 at the end of every bar. So on this one here, we'll count it +1, and then we'll want to tell it to do various things on these beats. And what we want to tell it to do is not play until it hits bar 8, which is a count of 7. So let's go over to click and twist, then click and twist again, the accumulator mask, and we're going to have it only when it's equal to or above 7. We want that only on these steps. So now, hopefully, if I've set that up right, it'll only play these on bar 7 or bar 8, which is a count of 7. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And it should play on this next bar. There are 2 ways of creating patterns on this. The first we've just seen, which was the P3 pattern, which is like a standard old school analog sequencer, 1 step per note, but you've got lots of things that you can do on there, all those parameter locks. You can actually have more than 1 note per step. You can have extra notes using the auxiliary events, but we won't go into that here. What I want to show you is the Cirklon pattern, the CK style patterns. If I come to track 16, I've got the instrument, the 909 set on this, and if I just show you that, if we come down here, I've got the default pattern as a CK pattern. You can change that. If we create a pattern, we get a grid. Down the left-hand side, I've already labeled these. You go into the menu, you add rows, and then you label them per note. So this knows that the bass drum is C3, and I've fixed it. So let's come out of that. So the bass drum on C3, when I hit there on the bass drum, so let's go to the next row, snare drum. So you know what's happening here, really, don't you? You can't do all those parameter locks and the randomization things like that, but it gives you an essentially a 909 style sequencer. And of course you can change the length of that. So last note, so we go 3 bars, 4 bars. So 4 bars. Then you got a copy across. So you'd come back into here, into bar 1, copy those 25 notes, move to the next bar. We're going to insert it there. There we go. Next bar, insert there. Next bar, insert there. So now we've got a 4-bar loop. So you could add the crash just at the start, for example. So if we go to first bar, look for the crash symbol, go to the start. I only play it once every 4 bars. Here we go. So that way you save all these different tracks, but you don't get the access to being able to actually mute them and stuff like that. So we go back into the tracks, turn all these on. Just a bit more flexible doing it on individual tracks. One last thing I want to show you with the drums is the fills. If I come into the snare, let's add a fill. So we just got to add a new pattern basically. So fill, no pattern. We'll create a P3 pattern. We'll come into that pattern and we'll just add one of them. Let's do a volume change on that. If we hold down the first and the last, we're sort of pinning the first. We don't have to hold down the first and the last. We can hold down whatever we like, but let's do a bit of this. Let's make it a little bit louder at the start. And then let's go into, I don't know, the crash as well. So crash was on 8, was it? Should really name these patterns. I'll do that in a second. Let's go to the fill pattern, create a pattern, and again, let's just put in a couple of crashes. So that's the fill pattern for the crash. And then maybe, don't know, let's do something with the kick, shall we? Or just leave it at that for now. And if we go into shift and fill, we can say what's going to happen. So you can see 2 and 8, that's the snare and the crash. I've got something in the fill pattern, but let's take out, let's mute, for example, the kick, and let's mute the rim. So when we come back to just play something with the fill, if you just hit fill, it'll play the fill once. If you hold it down, it'll continually play it until you let go. And obviously on different scenes, you can have different fills because you're using different patterns. Okay, then it's time to add the bass. We'll add the bass on track 9. On track 9, we'll go down to instruments. We'll go to the Nyx. So that's port 3, channel 1. So when I hit this, and that's what I'm going to play. Change the length because that's a 2-bar beat or 2-bar phrase. Hit record. If I hit menu there, we're on Q record. This means it's quantized recording, and we've got M through on. If that's not on, if that's on off, if that's on off, you won't hear what you're playing while you play it. But as soon as I play now, it'll start recording. There we go. And you can hear that we've got those extra notes in there that need to be tied. So we hit tie and we tie those notes. Hold and twist bar, we get bar follow on. Cool, let's add some chords then. Go to the track, let's go to track 10. We'll go to the Nymphes, port 2, channel 1, so it's port 2. Okay. And that's going through the delay. This uses CK patterns as default. If I go to shift and Nymphes, CK pattern as default. So if we create a pattern, we create a grid pattern, and that means you can play chords. I'm going to use chord mode rather than try and play them separately, because that is the old school way as well. Play an inverted minor 7th. So again, that's a 2-bar loop. So hit last and twist the bar knob to increase the length. See down here, we're adding the bars. We couldn't go to infinite actually, but let's go to 2. I think infinite will just play it once. And then let's play that. So record. You can just play it and then start overdubbing over the loop, which is probably easier than hitting the key and starting without getting any pre-count tempo assistance, I suppose. Let's take record off so we don't accidentally record anything. I want to put another little section in this, so I'm going to do the same again. I'm going to use the Nymphs again on track 11. It's a 4-bar loop, so we'll create the pattern. We'll create 1, 3, 4 bars, and I'll just take a punt at it and just start. That's right, but I shouldn't really have played it with the bass because it sounds very confusing. Let's try it without them. Nice. I did actually want to play that an octave lower, so we can come into the track, and if we hit track again, we get these track controls. Now, because it's the Nymphs and I've set it up before, it knows that these are in there, so it knows it's remembered them basically. But to set up a new one, you go to there, you'd insert one value, so you could have a MIDI control CC, which I've used on a few, or a track control at the octaves, for example. And then we can control that with one of the knobs, A or B. So if we go to the VCF, EG, for example, in fact, yeah, let's do it on this track. I go to the VCF. I can play the VCF just with the Arturia because it will play through. So let's go to the envelope generator amount. So shift and this move knob to assign. So now VCF decay. So the envelope decay, shift, then move the knob to assign. So take this off chord mode. So I can record that. If we go into the menu on the record again, let's record menu, the NC filter here, and record the notes or controllers. So it will record this. That's in there. Come out of record, press shift and row. And there's the CCs, and you could record 128 different CC channels. So now we've got everything we need for a little jam. Let's just take the drums off to start. Well, I hope you enjoyed that. I hope that was of some use to somebody somewhere. If it was, please do subscribe, ring the bell, do all those things. Yeah, but great fun. And if you're going to buy one of these, maybe, I don't know where you can buy them from. I bought this used. But yeah, maybe check out some affiliate links. Anyway, see you next time. Thanks for staying to the very end.